Hello, 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 no bravado massive. So, let me just add my beautiful cast to the screen. Hey,
Hi.
hi, Empress Shaala, and the one and only DMT. Hello, 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 ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I want to get to interview all of our Black excellence kind of vendors on this show, so we can talk about business and all different things that we're doing and the different things that are affecting us. But you were one of our Black excellence winners, so let me start again. Let me start again. This is Empress Shaala. And myself and Natalie, Natalie's the other half of No Bravado. Gary and Charlene are also our No Bravado panelists. Donna's a regular as well. But between us, sometimes we put on events called Black Excellence. And what that does is we showcase Black-owned businesses in whatever format they're in. So it could be natural body care, it could be candles, it could be jewelry, it could be clothing, fashion, bags, and books. So you came along and you was an exhibitor at our Black Excellence Weekender that took place at the Tower Hamlets Town Hall as part of their Black History series. And we had a good old time that weekend. Donna, you was our host. Was you not?
Yeah, it was. It was brilliant.
Yeah, Donna was our host. And Empress Shaala here was our Black Excellence Award winner. So what we do is we give out awards to businesses that have the most impact, or stalls or stories that have the most impact, or however it is that you put yourself together, how you present. So there's different factors that go into winning our award. And I remembered I didn't even ask, because usually we collectively decide who we're going to give the award to. But after we done like our spotlight presentations and you spoke about what your book was about, I thought, I'm giving it to her. And I didn't even ask. I just gave it like that's our winner. And mainly because of the work that you are doing. Mainly because of the work that you're doing. Simply, it's brave. I don't think that we speak about some of the things that you touched upon in your book often enough. You also talk about the kind of mentality around some of the issues that you speak about in your book, and how it's like a lot of our abuse is swept under the rug. And then your book goes on to talk about how to heal and draw positive experiences from the negative, and to not, there are going to be positive influences as well as negative influences in both sexes. So welcome. That is why you won the award. I think it's a brave piece of work. I don't think the conversation's being had enough. And I do really want to have the conversation in terms of breaking that mindset where the victim's not meant to feel ashamed and hushed into a corner and nobody got to talk your business, and that's a priority over the mental health or over how said abuse would affect the person. So, it's all of those kind of things that seen and experienced, if I'm honest. Shut up your mouth and you keep it behind closed doors.
Grin and bear it,
Not even grin and bear it, but it's like a silent shame. Does that make sense? that kind of, I've heard it, I've listened to people, and the first, first sort of like, if a person goes and says to someone, in the family, or an elder in the family, that I've experienced X, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing they say is, "Who else have you told?" Or, that kind of
Mm.
thing, so that you can start to
Mhm.
gain who's told, as opposed to looking at what's really important, which is how
Right.
the victim has been affected.
Mm-hmm.
So, Donna, you got anything you want to add?
No, not at this point. I'm just listening. Obviously, I'm just listening. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
You know that it's a subject that is close to me, but I'm just listening. Yes.
Yes. Right. So yeah, and Donna, can you introduce some of the work that you've done around the subject, so that Empress Shaala has an understanding of what it is that you do?
So I would say that the body of my work is around trauma that already exists within the Black community, Black female community specifically.
Mm.
And I've been doing that for over a decade. And then as of last year, so my undergraduate, it was in community development. There are elements of stuff that you've just spoken about, Empress Shaala, that were within that. And then last year I started my master's, and my master's is in women and child abuse studies. It's a very, very specialist area, and it's one of the areas that I'm a bit like yourself, so similar to what Tisha has already said, I'm very keen to understand the Black female diaspora experience around these things. So yes, I'm in the space. So I was listening because it's something that is really, really close to my own body of work and my own kind of academic interest.
Lovely.
Okay. Your internet is a bit sitting there. Are you near your hub, Donna? You're
Me?
chopping in and out,
Yes.
and your internet's
Oh.
a bit choppy. So yeah. All right. Peter said, "Let's go, Coco."
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, says Janine Headley. Thank you, Empress Shaala, for sharing your wonderful book. You have opened eyes of some and healed the mind of others.
Thank you,
Amazing.
Queen.
So,
Big
and you're
love.
just getting started, my love. Just getting started.
Yeah.
So
Can
let's
I
have
say thank you for the Black Excellence Award. There's so much that came around it, but the timing was impeccable because I had officially launched the book 8 days prior. So it was really that, yeah, you could do this. This is gonna be something big that I needed
right.
instantly. Sometimes you've got to go for months before you get that kind of accolade. So that was really important. Also, when we had the part where we had to introduce what we did,
Right.
I don't know if there's footage of it, but if there is, look back. I was shaking like a leaf, yeah?
I know.
Because I talk to people one on one. I'm very much pound a bowl, social. I could communicate with anyone, but I don't know if it was the cameras, the on the spot, what it was. I
Yeah.
was shaking. I had to give the mic to my daughter and like MC over it. And what mattered was I got my point across, and the right people heard it, picked up on it, and encouraged me. And that's the whole premise of what it says at the beginning of the book. I'm here to encourage people to drag things from under the rug, talk up, because eventually the right person's going to hear, the right person's going to understand and give you that encouragement you need. So yeah, like, thank you for being on the other end when I was up the hill
Bless you.
and pulling me up. I appreciate you and Natalie.
Oh, thank you. No, that warms our heart, because this is why we do it. I mean, there's like a movement of a lot of Black organisations focusing on the Black pound. And I just think it's important that we all get out there and contribute in whichever way that we possibly can. Our thing for Black excellence is definitely it's tough. When you are starting out with something, it can be tough, it can be scary, and something like that, telling a story like that. And it, I don't know, we're human, so although it's God ordained, you're still gonna feel a little bit of some sort of, oh, I don't know, and should
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just felt it. I was just like I said, I didn't even ask anyone's opinion, which isn't like me, because I'm
Yeah.
very much like, what do you think with the team are very important to me.
Yeah.
But I was just like, nah, this girl needs to just keep telling this story. It's beautifully presented. I love the artwork. Everything about it, the energy, everything about it just deserves that award.
Thank
So
you.
we want to continue to do things like that, to give you a little, like, validation is not the word I want to use, but I suppose
Mhm.
it's the most appropriate, that you'll keep going, because
It
it
was.
can get tricky on the road of entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
or telling your story or launching your book, whatever the case may be. It can get tricky, but yeah, keep
Thank you.
going. So I'm glad the energy aligned, and well deserved, well
Thank you
deserved.
so much.
So yeah, Dee, you were saying, so the body of work that you do, because it was chopping out a lot. So
Mhm.
if you don't
Oh,
mind, just so that
am I clear?
it makes
Am I
sense.
clearer now?
A lot, yeah, a lot better.
Oh, okay. So I was just saying that there's a lot of correlation in terms of the body of my work within the community, and more recently, um, my foray into academic studying around this subject. So my
Mm.
Right.
master's did women and child abuse studies,
Wow.
which is very specialized, very
Mhm.
niche,
Mhm.
but it was something that I wanted to pursue because you can find so little um, empirical studies and research done on the trauma of women of Africa, the African diaspora heritage. So I was
Mhm.
like, well, hold on a minute. What's that about? So it's kind of led me down that rabbit hole, and that's where I'm at the moment. But it's very, very interesting.
Right. Okay.
Brilliant. It's nice to see people out there doing the work.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, Donna has definitely got. Um, I don't know. I like to listen to Donna, because sometimes some of these subjects, it can be tricky.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't want to use the word not boring, but sensitive.
Mhm.
Sometimes it can be, and sometimes it can be a little bit sensitive, so people shy away from it. But Donna's got a
Mhm.
real knack of making these types of conversations really interesting, that
Mhm.
you engage. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation. So without further ado, let us start.
Yes.
So, so our little flyer that I prepared.
Nice. Nice one. Nice one.
Oh, um, right. So, first question: what inspired you to tell Isis's story, and why choose the title "The Shiny Black Girl"?
Okay, so big reveal, exclusive to No Bravado. I am Isis.
Right.
So it's my story. The Shiny Black Girl was a tricky title. It was changing. Initially, it was going to be called Tutus, because every time something did happen, Tutus, something else. But I realized
Right.
that it wouldn't be, if unless you're Caribbean, you're not really going to understand the name. So what I wanted to present was talking to the black women directly. The time where we used to get slapped with the Vaseline or the shea butter or the cocoa butter and greased down aggressively and lovingly and presented well to go to an occasion was when we was that shiny black girl. And
Oh, okay.
sometimes when you go through trauma, the first word people use to describe how they feel other than shame is dirty or unclean. Or so I wanted to reverse it, and show that in spite of, I am the shiny black girl, yeah, possibly one of the shiniest. And that's the
Love
link
it.
between the name, really something positive out of everything that's gone on, and with the mix of the culture in there.
Right. Okay. In what ways did writing the book peel back parts of the black community's under the rug issues that are seldom acknowledged?
I went straight into it. I talked about everything, child interference, and I use that word lightly when I'm online because certain words is not appropriate for the
Yeah.
online space. So child interference is something that is pushed so far under the rug in the community. It's ridiculous, and it's one of the most damaging um, traumas that there is, and long lasting. And so the fact that it's so pushed under the rug is concerning and frustrating. So I felt like what I was going to do is talk about that and bring it up in chapter 2. So you don't get much chance to get into the book without getting slapped with it.
Without getting right into the
Yeah,
subject.
and I felt like it was important to talk about the grooming aspect of that as well. Um, and one of the best parts of the feedback I get from the book is from chapter 2, because parents sit their child down, or those who have sit them down again and have in-depth conversations, not just about don't let anybody do this or touch hair, or if something happens, tell me, but the grooming process. You have to tell your children the way that groomers operate. It sounds so, what's the point? But it's important. So a good example of that is groomers often threaten children. If you tell something's going to happen to your parents, or you're going to get in trouble, or something's going to happen to your loved one, and there's threats put behind it, you have to tell your children, this is what bad people say when they do bad things to you. Don't believe it.
Yeah.
Agree with them and come back and tell me everything when it's just me and you. And that sentence alone will save a lot of children. We're about safeguarding. I'm a mental health advocate, so I like to talk about shadow work and all that, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But
Yeah.
prevention is better than cure. So if we can have these conversations with our children and avoid them from going through certain traumas, then we would have a lot less mental health issues to deal with. So yeah, I talk about that. I talk about domestic violence. I talk about the stigma of being in the mental home, or the nut house, as I put it. My book code switches from Caribbean to British, so I do use words that people might find slightly offensive, but the nut house is the one I chose to go with. And yeah, all of those issues that we deal with in the Black community that are pushed under the rug, I take Henry out, hoover them up. Yeah.
I like that. Donna, have you got anything to add to that? In terms of the grooming process, what age do you think we should start speaking to our children about these things?
I think as early as possible.
Okay.
I think as early as possible, because we're now seeing children from primary. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, we're now seeing children as young as 3 and 4 being affected by
I was just frozen. Oh, it's a shame. Oh no.
when she come back, but what she's saying is true. I think what you do is you gauge your children. Everybody knows their children. Different children learn,
Right.
can accept information at different ages and stages. So some of them you have to water it down a little bit different. Some of them you give them the kids friendly version. But if your child's old enough to be troubled, you need to have them conversations, and that
Right.
happens at any age. So yeah.
So talk me through what you would say to one of your girls.
I give my children small scenarios, because children are better with stories. That's why you give storybooks to children.
Right.
I would say to my child, there are people that really love children that work with children, and people that really don't like children that work with children.
Right.
So some of your the adults that you come around or come into contact with when you're not around me might do little things like tickling you and let you sit on their lap, and some of them have no bad intention with that. Some of them is
Whatsoever.
just the way we're used
Yeah.
to dealing with children, and some of them don't. And so if somebody touches you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, or asks you to keep a secret from mummy, always agree and then come back and tell me. And that's literally how I'm saying it to you, is how I say it to them.
Yes.
If they say, oh, if your mummy's going to get in trouble, or you're going to get in trouble, or someone's not going to believe you, agree with them and come back
Right.
to me. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to kind of
Yeah.
make it lighthearted, but you have to have the conversation.
You have to have the conversation. All right. Donna will probably come back when she's ready, but because I don't know, something's going on with the internet. All right. Next question. How have your personal experiences shaped the portrayal of mental health issues in the story? So you mentioned the nut house. So this is obviously one of your personal experiences. Can you talk to me about that?
The Nut House is my favorite part of the story, which is why I left it to chapter 12 to keep everybody like juiced up
Engaged.
for
Yeah.
book 2. The funny thing is, I hint in the Nut House chapter because I explain what happens in the Nut House. I don't explain how I ended up in it. And I was not sectioned. I was, let's say, tricked or coerced into going into it by one of the same people that play a starring role in the story, and also one of the people
Oh,
that,
wow.
yes, and also one of
Right.
the people that threatened me not to release the book. That's the person that got me in the Nut House. And I realized after I kind of let go of the shame of having to tell people I went there, that the reason why I ended up there was to discredit me going forward. People can see with Black Sheep, most of us have a mouth that can't be tamed. And so they could see it a mile off that I was going to talk, whether it was in a book or out my mouth. And
Right.
so I think it was one of the avenues that they chose to discredit me. Because from you say that, yeah, she was in the madhouse, she was in the nut house, it's not going to allow everyone to take me serious. But who it
Right.
is, we're here, and I'm here to talk to the people that can look at me and see that I'm just as mad as everybody else. So yeah, I was
Full
there for
bit of
about
praise,
7 weeks. It was very interesting, but it is what it was
7 weeks.
to this. Yes, 7 weeks. What it was used to discredit me talking now, and I'm doing it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of that particular experience,
Mhm.
were there any like drug induced days? There was that, yeah?
So with I went in on a Friday,
Yeah.
just my luck, and ward round isn't till Monday, which meant
Right.
that I couldn't leave the vicinity until Monday because they've got to assess you and decide how ill you are. So
Right.
if I had had the ward round on the Monday without getting any medication, I would have had them all laughing and they would have sent me on my merry way. The problem
Right.
was they gave me medication immediately, and I
Right.
turned into I was on the slow button, and I didn't know because my room was next to the medicine place. So I would take the medicine, go in my room, take my, was it Woman's Own magazine? I don't know what magazine it was in them,
Right.
but I was sprawling out on the bed reading my magazine, and I'd fall asleep thinking it was just natural. Wake up, magazine there, get on with my day. But one day my dad came to visit me. So they knocked my door and they said, "You got a visitor." And when I was walking to the visiting room, I realized I was walking slow. My legs were even dragging. And I
Right.
turned to where the mirror is to look at like what's going on for me. And even the way my head was turning was so slow. It
Right.
was ridiculous. And then obviously my dad looked at me, saw something was wrong, and he said to me, "From now on, when they give you the medication, put it under your tongue, act like you
Let's spit
swallow
it
it,
out.
get to the thing and spit it out." Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
Come on,
but the
pumps.
problem was I'd already had the first ward round before that. And so unfortunately for me, I was so drugged up that I sat in a room with approximately 20 to 30 people, doctors,
People
students,
know I'm on
nurses.
live as well.
They'll call you when it's the wrong time. And when you're not busy, no one's calling. It's annoying.
Right.
I sat with about 20 to 30 people. A lot of them were medical students. They all went round, introduced themselves. The one next to me introduced himself as my advocate. Never met her before in my life. Didn't know nothing about me. And my chest was exposed, for want of a better word, because I was
Right.
so drugged up. I wasn't aware of my
Wow.
senses. And I
Right.
feel like nobody told me the whole meeting my chest was exposed because they thought it was me because I was loopy. Like it was a medication.
Right.
So yeah, it worked good. By the next ward round, I kind of redeemed myself. But if I had stayed on the medication they gave me, I don't think I would have made it out.
Hmm. My gosh. Wow.
Mm,
It's deep in it.
So, yeah,
mm,
it's very deep. Oh, you're still there because you got no picture, D. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure
mm.
I
if
know, I know, I know, but I'm listening. I don't know what's happened to Virgil. Me come off, me go take the belt to them still, but yeah, I am
you're.
listening in.
All right. Well, just pipe in anything, even if we can't see you, just pipe in because I want to hear your voice as well.
Of course, of
Um,
course.
yeah. So, uh, oh my gosh. So, all right. Let me move on to the next question because I would stay on that drug thing because obviously, if you lack capacity,
Mm-hmm.
if in their opinion you lack capacity, they can do that.
Mm-hmm. Because they'd
Wow.
already given it to me without any kind of, there was no assessment. So I'll give you how I can't tell you how I got set up to go in there yet. But
Yeah.
how I ended up there that day is I was in it was the Homerton Hospital one, and
Right.
the mental home is attached to. So if you're in the car park, you can go to any of the two. I was
Yeah.
unaware that that was even a mental home. So I had gone to the GP with my with the person that sued me and tricked me into going there. And then at one point, the person that I went with asked me to excuse them in the GP, and I thought they didn't want to make an appointment. So I just left them to it, backed out, came
Right.
back. The doctor gave me a letter which wasn't sealed, so I should have opened it, but I didn't open it. Problem. They said take it to Homerton Hospital. So me and this lady went to Homerton Hospital, and they ended up assessing me, and they said, we're going to give you a home treatment team. We're going to send somebody in every Thursday. If need be, we'll double it a week, and we'll just assess you from there, like a
Right.
counselling. That lady turned to them and said she doesn't have a home.
Oh wow.
So they said, "Oh well." She talked to them. She's very strong-willed, and they said, "Oh, you can stay in the hospital overnight." I'm thinking it's one of them things where I slide the curtain, I lay there, and they find something for
Yeah.
me the next day. And when I found I had my own room, when I was in my house, oh, look at the little private suite. Look at Edie, I didn't know that. And I should have known when they took my lighter. But again, I just went to bed, woke up,
Yeah.
and then I
Yeah.
said to them in the morning, I'm going to go get some cigarettes. They were like, no, not until Monday when the doctor assesses if you're allowed out. And then that's when it dawned on me where I
Clocked what
was.
was going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, that was
And
that.
this is why having advocates is so important, because
Right.
depending on who refers you and how educated they are on some of the rhetoric and narrative and wording
Mhm,
around this subject, they can, you know, they can act as if they're speaking on your behalf
mhm,
when actually they can be speaking against you. So it's
mhm,
really important. This happens to so many of our people in terms of when 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 engaging with institutions, especially around healthcare. And that's why
mhm,
I'm a strong advocate for having mental health and, you know, a whole range of advocates, because if you don't know how to speech the thing,
mhm,
then somebody who may be, you know, partly posed within that institution themselves, they know how to convince. And right now, you know, in institutions, people are busy, so a
mhm.
practitioner doesn't have the time to really thoroughly go through and assess. They're pretty
Yeah.
much going on the word of the person. You've arrived with that person, you don't seem to be
Mhm.
disturbed to be in the presence of that person, so naturally the
Right.
assumption will be, well, this is cool, right? This person is speaking
Mhm.
on behalf of
Got your best
of,
interest.
right. But actually, look what happened. And I think it's really important. It's a really good point to, you know, if anybody sees any mental health, any kind of advocacy roles that are out there, yes, they don't necessarily pay, but they are massively important, especially for us in our community, because otherwise other people start to speak for us,
Mhm.
and it can be detrimental. So it's really good to, I mean, thank God for your dad. Like, Trisha, when you say big up pops, me say yes.
Yeah.
Because if him never got
Yeah.
in there, go say, do you
The rest of
understand?
man saved you. The rest of man, yeah,
Telling you, big up the
yeah,
Russ every time,
yeah.
because
Okay.
it's really important to have advocates who can speak for you and carry
Mhm,
your voice and your wishes.
mhm. Very
Yeah.
important.
Oh wow. Trina H says, experiences teaches wisdom. Your story is truly inspiring testimony of awareness. Thank you for sharing.
Then,
Yeah, second
okay.
that, Trina. Okay, next question.
Mhm,
Where we at? Which toxic patterns in relationships or communities did you seek to address through this story? So we know child interference is one.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health was the other. Was so all right, we know Pups saved you.
Mm-hmm.
How was the rest of the family around your mental health, or did you feel stigmatized by your own community?
I didn't let too many people know because I was ashamed at the time.
Right,
My little brother knew because he knows me through and through. So I didn't let a lot of people know. Those that did know, they kind of rallied around and would come and visit until the visits got too much because it was wild in there. So they'd be, I
yeah,
was allowed to leave once I'd had the proper assessment for a couple hours a day. So they'd say, I'll meet you at the park outside, car. I'm not going back in there. But yeah, I did have a lot of support. But the person who put me in there, um, you know what? When you're coming against I don't want to say going against someone. When someone is coming against you, who is very powerful in the world, I'll say it like that, and you are not a confrontation type of person, you begin to accept certain behaviors, and
right,
that is a toxic trait because you become a people pleaser or a doormat as you get older.
right,
And so when people did things that I didn't agree with, naturally I'd think, what did I do for them to do that? What did I do
right,
for them to think that? So the amount of toxic things that come out of the issues in the book is kind of like is endless. It depends on the person. But I will say that that's why I spoke about the importance of the beneficial black men in my life as well as the negatives,
right,
because it was a push and pull. If I didn't have my three lions, my dad, my godfather, my grandfather, and the other black men that contributed, but those in particular, nurturing me, speaking life into me,
right,
encouraging me, giving me unconditional love, like I can see the love from them. I can see the acceptance. It counteracted a lot of the toxicity that was coming on the other end. And so I was fortunate to have people that rallied through the whole time, not just men, women as well.
yeah,
And that helped. But regardless, getting through, once I got my silver lining and got to an age where I kind of worked on my mental health, I thought I was all right. And when I started going therapy and doing the shadow work, I realized there was a lot of bitterness
yeah,
buried. There was anger, there was sadness. And I look at a lot of women, and people like to put the bitter black woman label on a lot of us, or angry
yeah.
black woman label on a lot of us. And even though that isn't the case, that is a stereotype. There is a lot of us that are bitter and angry within reason.
It's like you're not. It's like we're dehumanized.
Yeah,
So you know, with half of the things that you've been through,
yeah,
of course you're going to be bitter, and of course
yeah,
you're going to be bloody
yeah.
angry. But you're not allowed to be that
You're not allowed
because
to
you're in
pick,
the skin.
damsel. No, but
Yeah,
what I highlight is we're allowed to feel these things. There's a reason why we are like this. But I like to be one of the black people that say there's solutions, not just problems. So I spend time discussing what makes us like that. And I also help teach my sisters the way out of it and the work to do to not remain it. But the main key I would give is don't let them win. You didn't go through all of that to just end up in the corner sad and angry. So if that alone, if that's your only fuel, don't let them win. But a
yeah,
big thing with my book is at the end of every single chapter, I write what I thought then and what I know now. And the
right,
importance of that is that when you read the chapters and you do relate or correlate to the stories, me putting that perspective at the end helps you realize that how you view it now isn't necessarily how you're going to view it in the future.
yeah.
So bear that in mind, and it gives you like a little inkling to the fact that when you do the work, you might have a different perspective. And I'm far from bitter now. You
Absolutely.
can't
Yeah,
force it on me.
absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. Anything
mm,
you want to add or ask, Don?
Yeah, I just think it's a really important point. I think was it last week I saw something online that was speaking about the weight issue in the Black community. And whilst it was US centered, it's often been a conversation I know with my fellow domestic abuse. And I know we're not talking about domestic abuse specifically here, but in terms of trauma informed colleagues, it's something that those of us that are Black female, it's something that we talk about because we carry so much. And I really feel trauma is stored in the body.
Yeah.
And well, the brain is part of the body. When we talk about the body, I don't just mean from the
No, I mean,
shoulders
and
down. I mean,
the hair.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's all stored within our bodies, and so I think it's a really important conversation that often Black women don't have the space to talk about, because if we have the space, then Black men often say, well, what about us? We equally suffer. Or you get white women that want to talk about women in general. But I think it's a really important, essential conversation, because we can often pass this down to our daughters and through our families and into the wider community. And I think that we've never really had the time, out of all the people I think of, and I do reflect on this a lot, when you really think of the role of the Black woman since slavery, so much has weighed on her role, and how that is stored and then passed down. And I think it affects the way we parent. I think it affects the way we see ourselves, and the way that we navigate the world. And for those of us who may I'm not saying that they're not solution focused, but you seek interventions. I'm a big advocate for therapy and therapeutic tools.
Yes.
Everybody wants to sit down and talk to a counsellor. There's journaling, there are sister circles, so many other interventions that people should avail themselves of, because, like you say, I've walked around here saying that I don't think I have mental health. But I tell you what, I've got a CPTSD diagnosis, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I might be high functioning, but that means that there is an element where I have distorted mental health. And that came through working and talking to practitioners. And a lot of it was childhood trauma. Some of it was perspectives that had been passed. And I say all of that to say that it's amazing. You think that I'd rather sit down and talk to a therapist twice a month, Trisha, than be like my mother and grandma and pass away in my 60s. And I think I know it's not for tonight, and I know that we're specifically focusing on Empress Shaala, but I think it's a bigger conversation we need to have as Black women, how that trauma is stored up. What are some of the of that don't cost money, but just how much risk, how massive conversation, especially from women from the Caribbean diaspora, who like this are still taboo, especially in our communal institutions.
Can you hear her, Shaala?
And other spaces, we don't have to talk about it.
Can I say, you're right. The DV is actually a big part of my book. There's more about DV in there than anything else, to be honest. And there's a link to all of these things, because I believe that the child interference led to the DV. And then all of that led to the nut house. Even though I wasn't diagnosed, the home treatment team wouldn't have been for nothing. So, and then that is a part of the trauma that we're wearing. So yes, and in the cases where people say, what about the men and what about the white women or anyone else, I say, we're talking about this right now. We've got to learn to do that in conversations. When people try to deflect and move it to what about, we can talk about that after we talk about this. Let's bring it right back to this. We're talking about Black women. We're talking about our traumas. We're talking about how we break certain cycles. And respectfully, your comment about not wanting to end up like the generations before you without the therapy, you made an amazing point that I hope everybody got the chance to hear when it was cutting out. There are different forms of therapy. Talking therapy is brilliant, because for me personally, when I say things out loud, I hear it different. So sometimes I'll say something loud and think, But gardening, yeah. Sometimes I catch myself. I say, "You big fool," and yeah. But gardening, coloring, yoga. There's so many different forms of therapy. So if you're not comfortable with talking therapy, like the lady said, you should try different forms. There's other music, poetry. Yeah, there's different
All
ways.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. All right, let me go on to the next question.
Mhm.
Peter's asking, we're gonna touch on that at the end of the show as well. But for now,
Okay.
is your book on Amazon or anything like that?
No, because Amazon want a big percentage of my story and they're not getting it. So no, it's not on Amazon. You go to my
Okay.
Instagram, Shiny Black Girl, and link in the bio. Mhm.
The links in the bio in your
Yes,
Instagram.
yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. And we'll obviously share that.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Okay. So is it DMT back? Okay. Can you hear us, D?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can
it.
hear
Yes.
you now. All right. All right. So counseling plays a key role in healing. We just spoke
Mhm.
about that.
Mhm.
Where there's specific counseling moments or breakthrough in the book that you feel were pivotal to your
Mhm.
recovery.
Mhm. What were the specific counseling moments? The thing is, I wrote the book because I was threatened to be sued. I had to write the book as somebody else. But
Right.
I knew it was obvious it was me because how would I know what she thought then and what she knows now? I'd have to
Yeah.
be I'd have to spend a lot of time with Isis to be really getting into her thoughts like that. Um, but I took people into the time. So it's towards the end of the book. A lot of people need talking therapy, but you're on the NHS waiting list for about 8 months minimum. And also, private therapy is very expensive. And I've done a lot of therapy, psychologist, psychiatrist, counseling, bereavement, PTSD. There's a list. And what I wanted to do to be solution based is at the end of the book, which is in the epilogue, I've made 8 key points, which is 8 simple but effective mental health slash trigger coping mechanisms.
Right.
And I'll read one of them for you today. One says practice saying no. And the reason why it's one of my favorite is because it seems so simple, but it is so important. And if
Right.
you're a child of trauma, saying no is very difficult. So I've elaborated. It says practice saying no, get comfortable with saying no without offering too many explanations, affirm your
Yeah.
boundaries, and repeat yourself in if necessary. So if I say, "Do you want to go out for cocktails tomorrow?" The old me would have been like, because of this and because of that, and I don't think. And then when you do that, sometimes people give you solutions to your excuses, and then you're forced to go somewhere you don't want to go. You feel like a letdown. You got oh, that's a very important thing to
Yeah.
learn. Letting that go, just standing in your no. If you want to give an explanation, give a light one. And if you say it once and it isn't respected, repeat it the same way
Yeah.
you said it the first time. They will get it eventually. But people,
Definitely.
yeah, saying no is a big one. And so what I've
Yeah.
done, I've taken, like I said, the coping mechanisms that I found helpful for my triggers, the best 8 ones, flung them in the back so that once you've gone
Right.
through the story with me, you could go through them and at least one of them will help in some aspects.
Yeah. D, have you got
Yeah.
any coping mechanisms that you think would be useful as well, um, in terms of survival and coping strategies?
Mhm.
Survival is a word that I don't want to use anymore because I've decided I'm not in no longer in survival mode. I've decided that.
I like that.
So yeah, I'm just tired of it. But
Mhm.
what would be the coping mechanisms that you would recommend, D?
I've used journaling,
Right.
um, mood identifying. So you
Mhm.
can either do it in a group or you can do that personally. So there's just something that you know that that identifies your mood when you're feeling a particular way.
Right.
Um, there's so many different things that are free and easy, but
Mhm.
I think it, yeah, I think and having those 8 recommendations, Empress Shaala, is so important because
Mhm.
it's easy to talk about, but there will be women that are listening to this conversation tonight that will say, "Well, that's fine, Like, how do I do it? So having those recommendations at the back of your book is really good to signpost them to some self-help tools, definitely.
Thank you. Hello, Quincy.
Hi,
Yes, I've got
Quiz.
journaling as one of them, and in each one I do elaborate. They are all free as well. Journaling says write down your thoughts and feelings in a journal. You can then choose to reflect on them later or tear the piece of paper into pieces, symbolically discarding both the emotions and the thoughts they carry.
Yeah, you can
Um,
burn them as well.
there's a lot of them in there. Deep breathing,
Excellent.
avoiding impulse decisions, big one, sleep on it. Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
in there.
And I
Okay.
like the point you made about not over-explaining, because over-explaining is a trauma response.
It is.
Because it comes from not being believed at some point in your life and having been sanctioned for that. So I like the way you said, just repeat your position once or twice. You don't have to go into any explanations. And I think that's something that we need to practice.
Yeah. Everybody that knows me, I don't run to say no. I mean, I'll do it. Don't
Yeah.
business.
No, I bet you get them the sharp one as well. No, so they don't
No.
ask again.
No. But I have been that girl. It's taken me a while to get here. I have been the girl that didn't want to let people down, or would over explain, or do things that I didn't want to do, and then think, shut, you should have just followed your mind. Why are you here? Do you know what I mean? So
I bet you gave people the grace the other side. So if somebody let you down or couldn't do something for you and didn't say yes or agree to what you wanted, a part of our trauma response, as well as having the issue with saying no, is appeasing everybody else. So
yeah,
you would,
making
if someone said,
excuses
"I
for
can't come," you'd be like, "Sure, no problem," because you understand genuinely.
yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
one-sided. Yeah, I'm glad you got to
It
that
can be.
stage. Yeah.
Okay. So, what role does shadow work play for ISIS, and why is it crucial for readers to understand and practice it? Because shadow work is a term that's coming up a lot now.
Buzzword.
Yeah, a lot now, and that's just basically understanding your bad side, I would say.
Okay.
It For me, shadow work is understanding all that makes up my trauma,
Yes.
or what makes up my, because one of the things is it's a lot better, but my temper's not good, and that comes from bullying.
Okay.
So being severely bullied as a child, and getting to a point where I was 11 and a 16-year-old broke my nose because she said that I thought I was too nice.
Oi.
And my mom didn't play that shit. I had the Clarks on, I had the socks up to the knees, I had the school uniform in its entirety, I had the gap teeth, I had what I thought was a big forehead. So trust me, my 11-year-old self did not think I was too nice.
She thought you was too nice. That was the
Well,
problem.
this is it. This is it. And so it came from that. And I think whenever I tell this story, I always explain that I'm not a confrontational person, quite soft. I didn't like to fight. And I remembered my mum like literally sitting me down and saying, they will kill you out here if you don't learn to fight back, or you don't learn to meet people on their level, on their level playing field. They're gonna murder, like you're going to die. Like you're gonna have to learn to defend yourself. And but even after all of that, like when she punched me in my nose, and I remembered like my mum saying, when she comes, because the bullying had gone on for a while, and then my mum was like, when she comes, you punch her, and you fight. And it just wasn't in me. So she did that, and she broke my nose, and I remembered I heard my mum saying, just punch her. So I remembered folding my fist, but then I remembered the blood just gushing from my nose, and I didn't fight. And then I ended up in hospital. That's when I realized that my nose was broken. And then I had these two big black eyes, and it was really painful. But I couldn't tell you what was worse, the fact that I didn't fight back, or that my nose was broken. It was just such a... So I remembered after that feeling like just complete and utter shit, and just saying, you're gonna get bullied to the point where your face is now broken. You know what I mean? You have to defend yourself. So then it kind of went from there, where I just was like, they're gonna have to kill me. No one's ever doing that to me again. You're never going to be able to break my face again. And I grew up in North London, Tottenham,
Yeah,
where you have to defend yourself, mate.
yeah.
It wasn't easy out here
Not
in
very
the
easy at
Tottenham
all.
streets. It just
Yeah,
wasn't. And then you had to defend yourself. And then
especially when we was growing up. Mm.
what? You had to.
Mm.
If not, like, you will die. And I remember my brothers just, like, usually will play fight, but they will roughhouse with me, like, learn to defend yourself. Come,
I train
wake
you
up
up.
out of your slumber and defend yourself, because we're not going to always be here.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and then I then discovered that I can actually fight, because I was forced
Ooh.
into
Yeah.
fighting.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we used to get into a lot of bloody scrapes
Yeah.
growing up, like proper
Once
scrapes.
you
But
get that first fight, ooh.
sorry,
Once
do
you,
it, do you?
once you get that first fight after being bullied, ooh, yeah, that
Right.
feeling
You know what I
unmatched.
mean? And when you win as well, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, so
Me
actually,
too.
right. So then there was a little bit of, I would say, an unstable period, which was
Mm.
forced by trauma, because people just don't leave you alone.
Yeah.
Janine Headley says, I'm sorry you went through that. Bullying is disgusting.
Yeah.
But it just is. I think for a little bit it turned me into a bit of an asshole, because once I realized that I could fight,
One extreme
then
to the other.
yeah, you then become a little bit of the cocky one. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then you grow out of it. But
Mhm.
my point to all of that is that you're literally forced into a traumatic response that's not
Yes.
made up of you,
Yes.
because people just won't leave you be.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So but it's just, I guess, growing up and then dealing with the trauma of that. And even now, like, I, I think going to therapy and understanding that actually I used to demonize my temper, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't anymore. My
Mm-hmm.
temper is, I actually quite like my dark side, because it don't trouble
Yeah.
nobody. Do
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying? And what it
Yeah.
will do is come out in fierce defense of its light.
Yeah.
So it's just understanding, it's different ways of understanding your all of the aspects of you, and
Yeah.
understanding, like, for me, I know some of my temper is definitely a trauma response from
Yes.
bullying. So
Yes.
how do you now manage that as a 50-year-old woman? You can't.
Mm-hmm.
But that I said to my mum the other day, I mean, I walk away from a lot. It takes a lot for me to lose my temper now.
Use your
I'll
battles.
still throw hands if I have to. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? I
I'll
don't
peel
want
off the
to.
wig. I'll peel off the wig if I have to. Trust me. It's so
Do,
interesting that you're having this conversation, because
yeah.
the again, the Caribbean background is, if you don't go back there and hit that person, I'm gonna hit you. There's so
You're
many
gonna get
layers.
right.
And
Yeah.
I remember getting bullied. And then what's funny is my big sister was, she's got different mums, but she happened to be in my house. And she said to me, "Oh, I heard you're getting bullied." She was smoking her little fags. She was like, "I heard you're getting bullied at school. Tell your friends that if they keep doing that, I'm gonna come over there and deal with them. I'm coming after school." So a girl did trouble me. She gave me one box in my face, and everyone did the ooh. And I was in the classes reading in the corner. I might climb a tree, but I never did participate. I didn't play. I was very much quiet. So when she hit me and everyone was waiting for the response, I was like, "When my sister's coming after school," and my sister didn't come after school. So the next day, now they're like, "Oh, you got something in your headset yesterday. Your sister didn't come, so oh God!" And I had to fight. And the girl was size to me as well, and I give her a good beating. I don't know how, but I gave her what she was looking for, and
Right.
that the feeling, more than a
When you
cocktail.
realize, actually, I can defend myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and luckily I didn't turn into a bully, but my
Right.
size is quite small, so I had a little game I'd play where if someone was trying to intimidate me, I'd feed into it, so I'd play more soft and, "Oh, please don't, I don't want to." Yeah, with the moment. Yeah, that means when
Yeah.
I hit you, it's justified because you're really a bully. But it's weird how I
Right.
say this. My daughter, one of my daughters, she's been bullied for ages, and I remember having that same conversation. If you don't hit them, I'm gonna hit you. You have to defend yourself.
Mm.
And I'll keep
And
it
you
short and
shouldn't
sweet.
have to be this
I
person.
came to a school. I said to her, I've tried everything. If you don't do it, I'll do that. And I've started bribing her. And I was like, "Listen, when you put down your bag, because the girl's bigger than her, why are you sitting down doing the register? She's sitting down. Just run up and do your thing. Get 10 in. I said, every hit you hit her, I give you a tenner. So I sent her off, and I sat there at home thinking, what if she's beat up in one corner and you set her up? So I've gone to the school. I've gone to check her. I said, how did it go? She said, I didn't do it. I said, all right, go upstairs. Go handle it. I'm waiting here. I stood there waiting for the teacher to come down, red face. Why are you sending her up to fight? She came back down, and you know what she said to me? She looked me in my eye and she said, Mum, I'm not you. And she burst into tears.
Oh, bless her.
And I had a lesson to learn that day. It's part of the breaking cycles that, what you learn is not always how it goes. So now I would love her to get a thump that sent her into defense mode. But she ain't there yet. And my job is that every time she go to school and get bullied or there's a problem, I've got to do my job and protect her, let her hold her innocence and hold her bubble till the day that she really. But I did tell her, I said, hey,
she shouldn't have to.
It's gonna feel nice.
Yes.
It's gonna feel nice. Shadow work to me, to different people is different things. A shadow is something that is dark, that is behind you, that doesn't leave you and is lurking. You've left it on the floor. So to me, when I talk about shadow work, I'm talking about revisiting the things that we have in our mind and our heart that has been suppressed, and we don't want to go there. And I found that there's no such thing as healing until you do the shadow work. That stuff will sit there and bottle up and explode at the worst time, in the worst way, if you don't address it. There's no running from it. So, I suggest that you find a safe time, a safe space, and safe people to do it with. Because doing shadow work with somebody that don't have a good art for you is not suggested. It can make things worse. I also suggest doing things in dosages. So don't sit there and try to go through all your trauma and figure out everything. You end up a mess. Don't say Empress Shaala told you to do that. Do a little bit.
Yeah.
When you feel it being too much,
you put it
look
down.
at the back of the book for the coping mechanisms when you're triggered. Sip water, journal. Bring it, and if you have to revisit in a month or a year, do that. But every time you're coasting too nice, start doing some of it, and it feels good after, and you're lighter after, and you can really feel confident in yourself, and you appreciate what you've gone through. I know that sounds weird to some, but some of us
absolutely you do. Because it was an earlier comment. What did she say? It gives wisdom. Experience teaches wisdom. Your story is truly inspiring, a testimony of awareness. Thank you for sharing. But it does. Even your most negative experiences, sometimes when you get to the other side of it, it helps you to understand who you are as a person and that you are truly like unbreakable. Sometimes your rock bottom is your chance to rebuild and reinvent and come back even stronger and better. But Peter asks is a really good question. In terms of shadow work, what role does forgiveness play for Isis? Because I think forgiveness is part of shadow work. You have to
be transparent. That is something Isis is still working on. I've mastered a lot of this stuff. I've done I used to have depression. Therapy helped me. That's gone. PTSD, therapy helped me. That's gone. Bereavement, I'm still working on, and forgiveness, I'm still working on, because I thought I'd done that. But
it comes up in layers, right? So you feel like and then you get to the next level when then it gets like, oh, I thought I'd done this already. Here we are again. Yeah. Absolutely.
It might be perspective, because some people look at me and say, well, the way that you're not willing to do this and do that and move here and move there, you ain't forgiven. I know that if I decide to remove someone from my life who has done me wrong, but I have forgiven them, I felt like that was enough.
Yeah.
Some people feel like, no, if you have truly forgiven them, some people feel like if you've truly forgiven them, you should be able to keep them. But
No. If
in
you
that,
show me who you are, I believe you. If you burn me, I forgive you, but there's no need for you to burn me
yeah,
again. My
yeah,
mum would say something like, "You can't trick a prostitute twice." Well, you should be
yeah.
able to trick a prostitute twice. Do you understand what I mean? So, no, I don't think having people in your life that you've cut off to protect
Yeah,
yourself, in order to forgive them, you have to let them back into your life again. It means you just don't simply carry no malice in your
mm,
heart for them. Like, you
yeah.
truly let them go when you wish them well, but it doesn't mean that you have to be back in my life. I don't agree with that.
My way
D,
of
what do you
forgiving,
think?
my way of forgiving was understanding why they did what they did, which is also a problem sometimes, because sometimes you don't need to waste your time understanding. But for me, to forgive the people closest to me that did me the most harm, I had to put the logic and take out the emotion. And once I was able to do that, I kind of felt sorry for them and I understood it a little bit and I appreciated that it made me stronger. So I feel like to an extent I've forgiven. But if those, I don't know if it's forgiveness, because if somebody I don't know wrongs me, I might choose my battle. They might get a pass, but someone who I've already forgiven can do me wrong again. The wig is peeling back, so it's up to you
Not
to
the
decide
wig.
if I just has really mastered forgiveness yet. Yeah.
Don, are you there,
Yeah,
babes?
I am
What
here.
do you think about forgiveness and moving forward? And do you think that's a key part in healing?
I do. I think if you don't forgive yourself, and the inner child shadow work is about recognizing like all of those past traumas. So you sometimes, or for myself, maybe I'm speaking for myself because trauma happens to
Right,
people at different stages, but it's been about forgiving and giving grace to that child who didn't have anybody to advocate for them, because you don't know what you don't know, but equally also removing and embracing your darker side. I think because my darker side is still very much part of who I am, so
absolutely.
embracing my darker side, um and realizing that if I didn't, so I'm permanently angry, as you know. So but actually my anger is what fuels a lot of my work, and anger fuels me as a person. So realizing that actually shadow work is not just about removing some of those elements of yourself, but utilizing them into things that help you progress. So for me, um my anger fuels my kind of academic work, and because I'm angry about things I get things done.
Right.
But I think primarily to that it is about forgiving yourself and giving yourself grace,
Yeah,
if that makes any
agree.
sense.
Forgiving
It
yourself is a
does.
big one.
100%. All right.
Forgiving
What's our
yourself is
next
a big one.
question? Do you have any questions for Empress Shala, Don?
No, not at not
Not at
right
the
now. I think
moment.
at the end. Yeah, I'm enjoying the
Okay.
questions that you're posing, though. Definitely.
So which one is Quincy talking to you? Because I'm half Bayesian as well. You say it's the Bayesian in you.
It's me he's talking to.
Okay, okay.
But now we know it's you're half Bayesian as well.
Yeah.
So you're my Bayesian sis.
Yes, I'm Bayesian and Trini.
Oh, and Trini as well.
Yeah.
That's mixed. All right. So, which relationships in the book, mother, partner, friend, father, mentor, had the most profound impact on Isis's mental health? So we know dad.
Hmm. Yes.
Anybody else?
Um, some in the list that you've mentioned, there is one of those people that played a massive part in the opposite direction, but I don't want to mention which one.
Right.
But I think it's kind of given away in the book.
Yeah.
But on the positive side, definitely Daddy. The Rasta man always has a reasoning. There was never a time where I would call him and he wouldn't answer. He's
Oh, I
very
love that.
calm, very calm. And he was my translator. So if I call him and say, oh, yeah, he'd say, Princess, I think what they're trying to say is, and then he would try and feed it to me in a way
Right.
that's more palatable. And then he'd tell me how to say what I want to say without my strong tongue.
Right.
That the unconditional love he gave me. I think with my dad, there was all the herbs and the natural remedies and all the good stuff, but the foundation of Rastafari and the importance of the Bibles. My dad made sure I had a Quran, Torah, King James, Maccabee, Book of Enoch. Yeah, the spiritual
So
aspect
he guided
gave
you
me the
towards the
real
spirituality.
grounding. Yeah, and with God is everything. So he really put me on that path of um being able to wake up and say I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, or go to bed and say weeping may endure for the night but joy cometh in the morning. So yeah, I'd say my dad was the winner in terms of the aspect
Yeah.
that people have had on my life.
Wow. It's great stuff. Because, you know what I mean? A lot of us, and it's nice to hear because for me, I'll speak for myself.
Mhm.
I didn't have that in my dad.
Yeah,
So it's nice to hear
yeah,
someone else did. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? So
Unfortunately, most people don't.
don't have that in their dad.
Most
Yeah.
people don't. Men and women,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's nice to hear. Pick up dad. Okay, what cultural pressures did you want to spotlight in particular? So we know child interference,
Mhm.
but was there anything else in terms of mindset that you wanted to highlight, or what
I
was you
think
trying to spotlight in particular with our community?
I think I'll always put child interference first, because part of the Rastafari creed is infants be cared for. When they say hungry, be fed and thing. I think that, like I said, if you take away the childhood trauma, that leaves a lot less adults with mental health issues. And I also
Right.
mentioned that my child interference, I believe, led to my DV and a lot of other things. When it comes to domestic violence, a therapist will tell you that you basically have vulnerable on your forehead once you've been in an abusive relationship. People can see the signs in an abused woman. Abusers can see the signs in abused
Yeah.
women. And whether it's a pheromone we let off or just the way we interact, people can see when we're vulnerable. And so
Yeah.
I think,
And exploit that.
yeah, I think doing the research on another buzzword, the red flags, and what to look out for in relationships and interactions with other people is very important. And when I say relationships, I mean man to woman, but I also mean friendships, and I also mean family relationships, and knowing when to go no contact with people, knowing when to
Right.
affirm your boundaries. Um, but the part that I feel like is important to spotlight will always be child interference, because big people can talk for themselves. Even if we're trained not to, eventually we can. But
Hmm.
the children, there's no child that's going to sit here on this live with you and talk about the importance of it. There are a lot of domestic violence charities. There are a lot of mental health support out there for adults. I don't know anyone whose child is in therapy. I don't know anyone that's having these conversations that you're having about child interference. So I think that's my main push anytime I come and talk. I have a project called Shiloh Village that will be coming soon. We've got an Instagram page, but there's nothing on it yet, because I currently have my team out there that are gathering images. People that donate to causes like to see what's happening in the visual. So we've got someone out there capturing the street kids that are in the street and in positions to be groomed and homeless and etc. I'm all for the
Right.
children, and so um, one thing you said at the very beginning was I don't know how you worded it, and you can remind me, but one of the responses that children get when they speak up, you said it was who have you told? That was your
Yeah.
response. A lot of the responses are you're too fast, you wanted it, you're force ripe. I'm sure a lot of people are nodding
Yeah.
to their heads are falling off.
False right. Yeah. It's
Yeah, the
definitely,
force
yeah.
ripe one was all up there. And when you're that young and your word is suppressed, you've almost got a minimal chance when you're older of voicing things. Um, so I need everyone to not just have these conversations with their children, But I mentioned it wasn't just my dad that was my free line, it was my godfather and my granddad. So if you have any children that you work around or live around or are related to, you could be a teacher, you could be a social worker, you could be an auntie, a godmother, an uncle. If it's not suitable for you to have those conversations with the kids, make sure that the parents are, and you can make such a huge difference.
Right.
Not just what the child goes through causes the trauma, not just the interference causes the trauma, the response after the interference
Yeah.
could be just
Yeah.
as detrimental. It can be just as detrimental. So like I said, every child is different, but since I gave an example of how to talk to children to warn them about grooming,
Yeah.
there are child psychologists that would say don't ask leading questions. Their profession is to be trained not to ask leading questions, because then they can be accused of goading the
Putting
child.
that into, yeah.
Yes, but we are not professionals. We are real people. And so, yes, children do lie and fabricate truth. Unfortunately, you've got to take the possible lie as a truth until the child reveals it's a lie.
It's proved
Because
to
it's
be a liar.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better. Stop being afraid of making other adults uncomfortable. That's a big one. I know
Yeah.
a lot of parents now are waking up to the idea, or guardians. I don't want to keep saying parents, because it's not just parents that look after children. But you know, when you say, give me a hug, and the child
Yeah.
doesn't want to give a hug and they're a little standoffish, you're shoving them and you tell them about their behavior and no, man, you ain't got no manners. And then you hop them up in front of the family and everyone's putting their 2 pence in. Cut that out. Cut
Right.
it out, because you don't know why the child does not want to hug that person. It might not be that particular person that made them uncomfortable, but someone could have, and now they don't want to have those
Right.
relationships
So,
with
right,
people.
right, right. So,
So you've
wow.
got to,
Yeah.
yeah, you've got to let that child know that their body and their space is protected, and you're going to back
Yeah.
them. Now you have to greet. You have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. In my case,
Yes.
yeah, you can't hello, hi, because you didn't go to school with them. You have a good morning, afternoon, evening. But if my child don't even want to spud you, give you Rastafari, they're not giving you. Make the child feel comfortable with their body, and know that it's theirs, and they have a right to say no. I don't want to hug.
I
I
don't
don't
want to
feel like
hug.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and don't
Yeah.
let the
Yeah.
child sit on no one's lap. That was another point that's very important. Making other parents uncomfortable, other adults uncomfortable. So
Right.
I like to put kids on my lap. I like to tickle kids because they're cute and they're little. If a parent says to you, "Can you not put my child on their lap and can you not tickle them?" Don't respond like, "Oh, I'm not an aunt. Oh, I'm not a groomer. Oh, it's
Yeah.
innocent," and
What's
be
the
offended
problem? Yeah.
that they're trying to do that. And if you have a right mind, whether that was your intention or not, you should respect that the parent is setting them
You would
boundaries to
understand.
prevent
Yeah.
their child from coming into them problems. So I'll be walking with my kids, and someone will come up to my kid and be like, "Oh, hi, how are you? What school do you go to?" And the throat clear. Then it's a big lecture. My child knows what's coming. I say, "Hey, listen, we already know that children is not supposed to be talking to strangers, but when you're greeting them, I can accept that. But you asking them what school they go to, if you're not a weirdo, if you're setting them up to have these conversations with weirdos, why do
Yeah.
you know what school they go to? Why are you
Yeah.
letting them think that that's the conversation they should have with strangers?" Well, I
Yeah.
talk to
Yeah.
parents, I talk to adults and let them know, I know your intention might not be bad, but the way that you're going about this interaction with the child is putting them in danger. And I know some people are like, "Oh, this too much. Oh, not everything's about prevention is better than
Then
cure."
pure.
It's better than
Absolutely.
cure. So have those
Absolutely.
conversations. And also, final one, call out the uncle, call out the auntie, call out the cousin. Now everybody knows that uncle that sits in the corner scratching, and everybody knows, say, you have a little issue and you try and move your child away and nobody says anything, but everybody knows, say, I don't want to say a name to be funny, just in case somebody's got that name on the
Yeah. But
but yeah,
Uncle Blah Blah is a little bit of a
yeah, and it's
pervert.
not just men. It's not just men,
No,
and
it's
it's
not.
children. My child interference was with another child. You see? So some
Right.
people think don't leave them with adults. Sometimes you can't leave your kid with other children because you don't know what
Yeah.
the children's been through. And bless the
Absolutely.
person who interfered with me, because they were a child And the way the play went, they were groomed. And I knew they were groomed because they groomed me. And there was no way a child is going to be able to groom me so well. You read the book, you have to know how it did happen.
Yeah.
But the grooming was so intricate. It had to be that they were interfered with. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They usually say abused people have been abused. People who abuse have been abused in some sort of a way.
Yeah,
They
you can
usually
either
say that.
you're either going to abuse, you're going to be an advocate for abuse, or you're just going to be silent because you don't want no parts of it. Yeah.
You don't want no parts of it.
Mhm.
Don, question.
Yes, babe.
Why do you, in your professional opinion, what do you think is around the mindset of why we brush it under the rug as a community? Why that shame comes about once it's happened? What do you think that's about?
If you look at us, if you look at our social history context, we've only had autonomy over our bodies, in the last just under 200 years?
Right.
And even in that time, women, so slavery ended, and our bodies became ours to a certain extent, but not entirely through colonization. And then women suffered the oppression from men. So when we're having conversations around, and then racism commodifies the human bodies of Black and brown people. So it's a really deep conversation, and I believe as a practitioner that it's part of one of the driving forces why young Black children in particular, and young people see so little value in life and are quick to take it, because part of our trauma has been around not being seen as human, right? So not being seen as a person, and that it is a trauma response that we haven't really worked ourselves out from. And I kind of just be really honest. If we look at the Caribbean, the descendants of slavery are the product of sexual violence. All of us.
Yeah.
When they stopped bringing over boats from Africa and decided that breeding farms and buck breaking plantations, we are all of us, and that's bred generation after generation, and nobody's ever got any therapy for it.
No.
So actually, it's a massive. That's what I said earlier on. From a macro point of view, this is a huge problem, because the whole of the diaspora, which is one of the reasons I believe it is something that is not addressed, because it's actually a way of life, and it's been a way of life because of the legacy and the effects of what we went through. And we've never, we talk about therapy now. I don't know what it would cost to put the whole of the Caribbean through therapy, but in effect, that's what it would be. The slavery was about breeding other slaves, any means, anyhow. And that trauma has been left. If we look at our culture, if we look at, I'm not saying that it's predicated on sexual violence, but we have a very highly sexualized culture. We cannot deny it. It is coupled with the Bible and all of this stuff, but actually it doesn't really prove to be true for a lot of the time. And so it has become a generational curse. And you talked about the weird uncle in the corner. My grandmother had her first child at 12.
Right.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Now she is not of her generation and time. She's not an oddity at all. And in fact, having children early is often culturally encouraged. It's almost a myth. Well, having a picnic yet? It's very much about the making of more children and sex and the rest of it. I think that it's a conversation, again, that we probably won't get into tonight, but my reflection is, as a people and a diaspora, it's a massive issue with us. And I think people like Empress Shaala and others, even myself, yourself, Trisha, by having these brief conversations, we are trying to end generational curses.
Yeah, definitely.
We call it post-traumatic slave disorder. Yeah, it's a big thing.
It is.
Yeah. If you talk to a lot of if you randomly, anyone in the chat, anyone live, if you talk to 5 Caribbean men and 5 African men, I'm talking continental, like from there, not British born, and you ask them what age they lost their virginity, the age difference is going to be very different. And it's so 12, 7, 9. Sometimes it's a woman that's their age, that's also a little one, but
And
sometimes it's
sometimes
mum's
someone
friend and a
older.
babysitter and big woman from here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find it is a product of slavery, because it's a difference between the cultures of African and Caribbeans. Not to say that African people don't have intercourse early, but you can definitely agree that it is a slave taught behavior by the
Behavior.
way that we
I would
show it off.
agree, and I would go as far as to say, which other culture,
Mm.
you name me one, that in their music, in their popular cultural music, talks
Yeah.
about skinning out, talks about
Mm.
taking, you understand? Like, and where they're raving to it. Yeah, I'm not even gonna be a
Some of
hypocrite and
the
say
most explicit
that,
ones need
Right.
in the
you
corner
understand?
to the
I was
max.
going
What
to
may I
say,
tell you? You know,
who remembers the Dirty Rub Up corner? Yeah.
yeah, you're exactly. Look at rubs. Rubs are a
Fresh
manifestation of
wallpaper
sexual
tonight. Yeah.
intent. Where
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
where does that come from? You know, and I'm not saying it's not cultural, but
Mm-hmm.
again, those things that we think are cultural, when you kind of look at it at a deeper level, is sexual violence or sexual participation
Mm-hmm.
one of the causations. And I think in the Caribbean as well, if you talk about the loss of virginity, a lot of it is from other peers, so children same age. I think we and I like the point that you've made, Empress Shaala, we tend to look at adults and weird uncles. Equally, if you talk to people, a lot of that was through other children their own age that had been exposed to certain things, and then they brought that into other
Yeah.
people's homes. Well, where did that come from? It's a massive conversation, and I think
Yeah.
until it's addressed, when we talk about being commodified, we've been commodified so long by whiteness that now we commodify each other. And so the
Yeah.
body and having that righteousness around our bodies, and look at even our health, what we feed our bodies, all of those things, we don't place value on it because nobody's ever placed value on our lives. And I think that is an intergenerational focus that has been looked over, maybe because it would be too overwhelming and too much work. But from a professional point of view and from an academic standpoint, I think it's something that needs to be researched and studied, definitely.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. Peter said, "Amen, amen" to earlier part of our conversation. And big up your dad. And Jenny Headley is saying, "Talk the tings."
Yes, I have.
At the stage. Next question: how did ISIS identity evolve from childhood through to adulthood?
When Isis was a child, I'm talking third person now, see, because of the question.
Yeah.
When Isis was I had to do that in a lot of interviews because, like I said, I only revealed on this one that it is me. When I was a child, I did dissociation a lot, which meant that I became a liar. That's the best
Right.
way to put it. And that liar was to give myself a fantasy world because I was so uncomfortable with the world I was in. So I'd
Right.
give myself a whole different reality. If you asked me where I lived, and it would be something I took out a Jacqueline Wilson book. Yeah. So the identity wasn't really there. And then by the time I burst my own bubble as an adult, I was like, well, you're not that quiet little girl with the glasses that get pushed around anymore. And you don't want to be the victim and the one that's bitter and went through all that stuff. And you also don't want to be like what you said when you became your defense mechanism where you're fighting all the time. So who are you? Who are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did what a lot of people say they do. I went to Africa, and that made a huge difference in my life, and I got to find myself, and I realized that who I am can evolve, can change. I can take things out, I can put things in, I can switch it up. Yeah. But the core of me is who I present myself to be, and that's an imperfect person. But the identity is a big thing because that's another trauma response. most people wouldn't diagnose it as being a liar, but the way I talk is a little different. So yeah,
Yeah.
I had to find out who I was and accept that, and then work on it, and I'm still working on it. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But it was escapism,
I'm
basically,
Yes. Yes.
is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
just put
The
in the chat
emotional
on
impact.
the call. Security.
Sorry.
Sorry, say that again, D.
Sorry. I just put in the chat in the
Mhm.
on the studio chat. Promiscuity
Oh,
and being are two massive trauma responses. So
Mhm.
when Empress Shaala was saying that, I fully agree. They are two. In my group work with young black girls, predominantly lying, manifesting things that you know are not true,
Mhm.
are often trauma responses in a break, a mental dislocation from the reality that they're placed in. So
Mhm.
you tend to find that if there is in a group, if there is a young woman who is constantly lying, and it's like out there lying, you know, everybody else went to the
Yeah.
library over the weekend and she flew to New York, then that tends to be as a as a I'm not clinically trained, but
Yeah.
there has been clinical training in my work, but it tends
Yes.
to be a strong indicator that there's an underlying issue there. And also promiscuity, when you talk about
Mhm.
evolving, promiscuity for a lot of people is a
Mhm.
response to being, as you say, childhood interference.
Mhm.
um, and
Yes.
in our culture we call it fast and all these things, but
Mhm.
actually it's a direct response to being interfered with and not being believed as well. I like the point you made earlier
Yeah.
on. I didn't have the chance to unmute myself then.
Mhm.
Often the action is bad enough, but the reaction is
Mhm.
the thing that kills a
Mhm.
lot of victims, because they're not being believed, and then that doubles down on the trauma that you experience and also how you interpret in yourself. I mean, we've got massive escalation in self-harming, because when you're
right.
not believed, you will manifest that disbelief and interpret in different ways in the body. So yeah, just to make that point, those are two factors. A child that lies in that way, there is something
Mhm.
there. And then
Mhm.
also promiscuity. So when you look
Mhm.
at a lot of girls, I mean, I recently worked in a school, and just one more inch and there's no more school skirt.
Mhm.
These things, the wanting the attention, not just from
Mhm.
young boys, but just wanting to be having sexual attention. For
Mhm.
me, as a professional, I look at that when I'm doing group therapy work, and that indicates to me that there's an underlying issue. So it all correlates. It's all really
Right.
important things to kind of look out for, especially in one's children and any children that are around your children, because often children that are displaying those things, they have equally
Mhm.
been hurt, and they might try to bring those things to your children. So it's just for people to be aware.
Right.
That's very deep. Can I just touch on that?
Go for it.
The lying part is weird because remember when I said earlier that the person that got me in the nut house was trying to discredit me so that when I do decide to talk, I look like I don't make any sense. It's
Yeah.
weird because I just blatantly told you guys I was a liar as a child to dissociate, and you guys as adults understood that. The problem is when you become in the lying stage, now nothing you say is taken serious. So when you
Right.
do start to tell your real truth, you're just a liar. And then
Right.
sometimes you're a liar because when you told your truth, you didn't like the response you got back. So now you're not going to tell your truth anymore. You're going to make up a whole truth. And the promiscuity works both ways. So I know some ladies who become tomboys or um, dress like very masculine after they're troubled or interfered with so that they're less appealing to the people that
To
interfered
the
with them,
opposite sex. Yeah.
and some go the opposite way. And some of us, when we're interfered with, and this is something that's a little bit deep, so trigger warning, when you're interfered with, sometimes you can enjoy it, and I would want to use a better word, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to because I'm talking to people who are like me, who understand words that I use. Um, with that type of interference, there can be pleasure attached to it, which can be very confusing to even adults.
Confusing.
much less to
Yeah.
a child mind. So when a woman is interfered with as an adult in that manner, and then we enjoy it to an aspect or in a sense, even if we're traumatized because it's of the way our body works, we enjoy it. We think that we don't have the right to say that it was something we didn't want because we enjoyed it. So imagine for a child who experiences a feeling that they don't understand, that they've never
Right.
experienced, and then what you usually find leads to the promiscuity is the child is chasing that feeling, but they
Right.
want it on their terms. So the time that they experienced that feeling was they didn't have a choice in it. But when you roll up your skirt a little bit, you can get that feeling and you're in control, or it's your choice. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's a very a
It's a
deep
deep
one.
one.
It's a deep
Wow.
one. Yeah.
Anything to add, D, to that?
She's
Oh, she's
muted. You're
texting me.
muted just in case you are talking, yeah.
Hang on.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
was
you're
here.
right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
You was here. Don't say there's anything you want to add. I'm actually
I
all
think it's,
right.
I think. Oh, okay. It's
Go on.
it's I like the converse argument, because you're right. When I've worked with LGBTQ black women in groups, young girls, and the over masculinization is often a response to either being raped or whatever. And I think, again, we don't have enough of these conversations. This is why I'm all anytime Trisha asks me if I was going to go food shopping, I'm coming on No Bravado, because actually and it's something that we're going to bring back on my own platform, the journey of the vagina, because
Mm.
it is these conversations that are foundational to getting the wider community to understand themselves and also their
Mhm.
children. What we have
Mhm.
classed for so long as fastness, or the reverse of a girl who you think you're a man, you
Mm.
know, all of those things, strength, all of those things are a response
Mhm.
to the lack of protection over an incident. They're not actually a response to the incident itself.
Yeah.
They are a response to the reaction that you get from your
Mhm.
community, your family, that then
Mhm.
makes you know, well, no one's coming to save me. So actually, the best way is for me to either toughen up, to become overly aggressive,
Mhm.
um,
Right.
or to use what I've got, as you've so rightly said, to experience. And it's an important point to make, because it then bleeds into us as adults. The amount
Mhm.
of black women I've worked with who have problems sexually, I tell
Mhm.
you, if I had a pound for everyone, this show would be on BBC. You know, like that, Trisha, because it's a
Yeah,
massive problem
it
for
is.
a lot of women, because and for a lot of boys as well. Can we just talk about when these children are often going cunch and doing county lines? Where do you
Yeah.
think the packaging is put? You know, and
Yeah. Oh my
often,
gosh.
right. I've
It's
worked
like
with young men.
oh,
I've worked with young boys and that's in a complete male setting. So these are not women that are forcing them to carry packages in there,
in their
in that
rectum.
area. This
Yeah.
is right. So again, when we talk about homosexuality in our community, we like to bun fire, but it is rife. Because if a slightly older man can say, right, you're going to carry these packages so you don't get any detection or whatever, these are the conversations we need to be having, because I don't think we understand, or I think there is a resistance for us to understand our history around sex and how
Mhm.
it bleeds into where we are currently, how we see our children. And I think, again, I'll go back to my point. It's a massive subject, but it's one that we
Mm.
need to have, because I feel that without it, some of the things that we see in our community will continue to happen.
Continue to perpetuate.
Can I say
Yeah.
I'm grateful that you mentioned the LGBTQ community and the bonfire thing, because remember I said I grew up a Rasta, innit? So that's what I knew and what I know. I would say that it's really important that you highlighted that it happens to men as well. There is also a science behind child interference, more with men, but in both aspects. So I'm not going to get graphic, so you're going to have to use your imagination. But when male children are interfered with to an extent, there's something that is called splitting of the brain. So same like when you breed a dog too early, they lose their minds, and that to an extent happens with women as well. But there's something about the spine and the way it has to go when it's with men, and it affects the wiring of the brain with both women and men, and also the self-harming aspect. A lot of self-harming is a case of trying to gain control of things. Something I suffered from was trichomania, which is a hair pulling effect, which is considered self-harming actually. And when I went to therapy to find out why I was pulling my hair out, we found out it happened when I was anxious, and that was my way of gaining control of things. So yeah, it is a bigger, deeper topic.
And as Donna said earlier, trauma responses live in the body and react in different ways. So yeah, wow. This is a really interesting conversation. Thank you, ladies.
No bravado.
Chime in the chat if you guys are still watching. There's a few of you watching, so let us know what you think. Just continue to put your comments in the chat.
Yes, please.
The emotional impact of Black men on Black women is central to your narrative. How did you balance writing both the harmful and the healing influences? So it sounds to me like you're very solution based, so it doesn't make sense to throw anything out there unless you can balance it. Is that how you did it? Was it a conscious balance or?
No, because I grew up in the Rasta community and the conscious community and the Grand Rising and OTEP and them things, and the reparation crowd. No offense to anybody, but I'm in that same hallway, but in a different room, because you can't get me to stand up outside nobody's building and complain that I want them to return something they stole from my yard or my continent. They stole me from there. Why am I going to them and asking them to return or give me money for anything? If you're really about your reparations, go into the museum like they did on the movie and take your things out. Otherwise, I feel like with stuff like that, you start talking to the African leaders and let them block off the resources from coming out. That's what you need to worry about, not getting your money back. You're getting the money as reparations, and then the stuff is your gold and your coltan and your diamonds and your oil is still coming out of Africa either way. So what's the point? So growing up in them kind of surroundings and being around a lot of Rastas, you have reasonings. One thing I realized with the only big issue that irked me with our community is when the elders sat down and the big people was talking about any issue that they were discussing, there was never a solution. So everybody has that parent or that auntie that did buy the land, and then when they did drop off, the siblings fought about the land and who was getting what. The solution is, when you have 3 kids, buy 3 plot of land. You understand? It's like, that's how my brain is wired now. So I don't feel like anything should be for nothing. And like I said about being bitter, I'm not going to give you that. I didn't go through all of that for nothing. So that's where the solution part of me comes. But if I don't have a solution, I'm still talking. And what I'll do is the trigger coping mechanisms is the solution for the ones where it's not clear, because I don't have all the answers. But I do think it's important to acknowledge things, feel the feels, go through the motions, like feel it, hold it, cry, complain. We say can't complain, you can complain, meds in it, yell, everything, just bitch and be bitter for a little while, but make sure that
know when to come out of that.
Don't dwell in it, because otherwise everyone won and it was for nothing, and then you're going to pass that on to the next generation. They're going to have the same complaints. No, I don't want to sit with my kids and talk about that.
And you got baby girls as well.
You got to talk about solutions.
Very enlightening conversation, says Peter. Thanks, ladies. Hyper Official said, take your things out. Yes, I think that was talking about the museum.
Yes, thank you.
Michelle Flood says, extremely useful and insightful. I've never heard these insights before, and these conversations need to be had more frequently. Thank you for that, Michelle. I agree.
Michelle, Janine. Thank you guys.
Hyper Official, very well spoken.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Oh dear. All right. So where are we at next? What has been the most surprising or heartfelt response that you've received from a reader?
Um, Surprising is those that try to trauma bond negatively with me. Yeah, it's no
Okay.
fun.
Example.
I learned very quickly to maintain a formal relationship with my readers. Unfortunately, I would love to be able to have a little natter. It's my style, but I realized that when people far and wide read your book, you don't know their intentions or how it's gonna come out. And I'm a sucker for tears. So I've had people that can relate, and I would like people to understand that even though that was me in the book, it stops at 21. I'm 36, so that's 15 years
Yeah.
ago. So I am, even though some people are still in that headspace of what they went
Right.
through.
You've moved on from that
Yeah, so
trauma.
what happens is people will go on my Insta and send me voice notes and literally vomit their trauma. And I'm
Right.
here trying to make pasta and tuna for my kids. And I'm like, yeah, if
Yeah.
I could get triggered by this stuff, it would be a problem. So that's the not so amazing side of it. But what I've learned to do is direct them to services that I find useful.
Right.
Um, there
Okay.
is I
It
Remind,
serves as a
which
beacon
is
of light there.
Minds is a mental health organization. A lot of people don't know there's a branch called I Reminds, which is for Black people, African and Caribbean, and they have group
I didn't know
therapies,
that. No.
they have individual therapies, they have PTSD therapies. And I Reminds, I've had two therapists from there. Oh, see what I tell my what do you call them people that when you just have a baby, a health visitor? When I tell my someone who's there to assess my parenting that I did give my baby mashed callaloo with plantain, and they don't understand that I've given them iron, and like, you just need someone sometimes that understands your culture. I
Yeah.
don't want to say that I got licks, and the licks, there's a difference between licks and abuse, in my opinion. So when I'm saying that I got licks and the person's reeling and their face is going red,
Right.
I can't do it. So sometimes we need someone who can relate, who can understand. And
Absolutely.
so I
Absolutely. And I
remind,
don't think there's enough access to black
there
therapists.
isn't, but you can self-refer yourself to Irie Minds,
I
and you can get your
reminds.
GP. Yeah, Irie, IRIE, and then Minds. Don't look at the review because they've only got one review, and the review is like halfway. It's only got one review, so you can't base it on that. And it could be
Right.
because the person wasn't of culture and didn't get their services. There is also Sister Space, which is a domestic violence charity for African and Caribbean women. There's Shyla. I don't want to get them wrong, but there's
Mm.
one in Mare Street that is a domestic violence shelter, temporary for Black women. So there are services out there for us. And when I get clients that come to me and try to dump their trauma on me when I'm already dealing with my kids and trying to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I direct him. But the best response, and I don't want to say best because there's so many that mean a lot to me, but one of
Hmm.
the best responses I got was from a social worker, and she said she
Right.
sat her kids down and had that conversation, and she said she recommended my book for training for social workers,
Oh
because
wow.
she even feels like social workers should be recommending my book to parents who need
Right.
help safeguarding their children. And the book talks about neglect as well, which I haven't mentioned. And I know that a lot of people have a big trauma from neglect. And that also affects us as women and promiscuity and how we're dealt with. Because as a woman, if you're not taught how to be clean and refresh yourself, you're around people who can smell that you ain't brought up correctly, and from your
Yeah.
hygiene alone know that they can take the mick.
Right.
And I had a lot of
Wow.
times where I was neglected, and that resulted in me not knowing how often, when I became a wife, me not knowing how often I was supposed to wash my bed sheets and little things like
Right.
that you'd think from a Caribbean household I should have grown up knowing. So yeah, I think the social worker's response was the biggest. because I kind of, it opened my mind to how far this really does need to go and the
Yeah,
impact that it can have. So yeah, but I appreciate all of
absolutely.
the encouragement, and the key word people say is powerful. The book's powerful, powerful. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Because it is, it like someone just said, Butte SP. I appreciate the subject being opened up. It's a useful and insightful conversation because we don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Don, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm really pleased to hear that you've had such positive responses, and that if it can be used by that social worker to inform social workers and parents, I think then that's definitely something really positive. So, big up yourself for that. I think in terms of what you attract, one of the things I learned very early on is that broken people are attracted to strength.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right, you do have to navigate,
Mm-hmm.
because people are coming to you, or they're approaching because they want a way out of their brokenness. And there's nothing wrong with that, but how you navigate it sometimes is not a conversation that we have, because you can become the trauma dump
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And you have, like you so rightly said, you have your own things going on. So I think it's important to kind of realize as well, once you place yourself in the public eye, and I say that as somebody who's firmly in it, you have to be able to navigate that safely,
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody approaching you has your best intentions,
Right.
and
At heart,
equally people are right, and that doesn't come from a place of wickedness. That could just be they want to feel better about themselves, and so they're approaching you because you've written this fantastic book and the book has impacted them in a certain way. But I
Mm-hmm.
would definitely, through your organization, we need more parenting spaces in our community,
Yes.
um because blackness is not one thing, it's not this monolith, and the Caribbean community is no longer the biggest demographic representative of blackness in the UK. We are
Mm-hmm.
superseded by our cousins. Nigeria and Ghana are now the biggest representation of blackness. So in understanding um how we are and our cultures is a massive part in kind of putting this out for parents to read. And I think books are a wonderful way to identify yourself, because just as you've done with Isis, unless you're
Mm-hmm.
brave enough to say that's me, you can identify with a character. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can speak about, and I've often used it in parent therapy sessions, parents can identify with a character and talk about the character's um characteristics and actions without having to directly say that that's themselves that they're talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
books are really
right.
powerful tools in terms of learning. And yeah, just pick up yourself against this, because
Just
getting that out, approach the Department of Education,
mm-hmm.
because you're so right, culturally competent professionals, but also resources. Let's just talk about
Mm-hmm.
the resources. It's one thing
Mm-hmm.
having the professionals, but if the professionals are not pushing the resources that are equally culturally competent, this is where there is a gap. Now, there will be
Yeah,
parents out there who don't know what to do, who are seeing behaviors in their children, and they are at a loss because it doesn't mirror their own background or when they were children. And with the digital age, childhood has moved on. Listen, they're like big people at 10.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You know, the
Mm-hmm.
average 10-year-old is what in our time, Trisha, what we were at 17.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
The gap,
exactly.
the digital age has really moved on. And I think a lot of parents don't see that or don't acknowledge it. So getting your, approach to institutions. I see that the government are working towards the perpetrator model. They're looking at consent for young boys and understanding positive relationships. Get your book in there,
Thank
because
you.
I would rather that it's your book than something written by some poncy social work manager somewhere who's never eaten a boiled dumpling and butter in their life, talking about deprivation and all of these things. If we've got the people who have written the books that are powerful, that can be used as training tools, then there is nothing wrong with approaching the institutions and saying, I'm putting this forward as something, as a culturally competent resource that can be used,
Wow.
and working with them to make it that, because this issue is not going to go away.
You say
And
sorry, the Department of
unfortunately,
Education?
Sorry?
Who is it you said I should reach out to?
The
Sorry.
Department of Education.
Okay.
Contact your local MP.
Mm-hmm.
I had a meeting with Jess Phillips now, and she's the leader for violence against women. She's a minister.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 months ago. These are the people that this is why we vote for them, right? You have
Yes.
to use them. So you go to your local MP. Don't go to your local councillor's card. Them will go on, offer you some five. Don't bother with them. Go straight to your MP and say,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I've done. I think it's a resource. Can you arrange an introduction? It's an
Mm-hmm.
issue within our community. Because we're not part of mainstream community and because we still exist in almost like a parallel universe, there's so
Yeah.
little professional curiosity around the way that we live and operate.
Mm-hmm.
And so the old adage of social worker and police come to my door, it has
Right.
harmed us in the 70 years that we have been here.
Yeah.
It has, and I think that, I might be one of a few people that is willing to say it. As
Mm-hmm.
much as we point fingers outwardly towards racism, inwardly we have made a shit show.
Yeah.
We have.
From the Windrush generation to now, we have made a shit show. Critical
Mm-hmm.
thinking is not our best suit, and we
Mm-hmm.
turn apart, we laud violence and antisocial behavior, but we do not respect or place value on higher education. It's often higher education, and I don't mean qualification. I want to just be clear on this. I don't mean qualification, I mean education.
Mm-hmm.
Reading to understand,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
education that gives you the words
Mm-hmm.
that can describe what it is you're going through. And I think where we've gone in for this bad man and bad girl, and those are the dons of our areas, and those are the people that role models that young people might subscribe to.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't something started by young people, that was started by adults. Let's have it right. Where we've gone down this route now 30, 40 years, we're now in the position where we are now. So what Trisha's done this evening, and by having you on here, is massive, because actually we're promoting something positive. We're promoting a sister who has gone through her trials and tribulations, been supported by the black men. That's why I think your story is so powerful.
It's
By the
powerful.
black
Yeah.
men in her family, not social service. Black men took their time to support
Yes.
you. It's a very underrated. It's a real thing that happens, but we don't hear enough of it. And I
Yeah.
think, big up yourself, sis, 100%. And I can see
Thank
why Trisha was like, nah, she's to get the award, because this is black excellence.
You're not
And
gonna
if you
make me
need,
cry on the Zoom. You're
no,
not gonna make me
no,
cry on
if you
live.
if you need any guidance, like where to push yourself from
I would
my
appreciate
vantage
it.
point,
I would
yeah,
appreciate it.
I'm not precious about
You're
my
not a
network
Yeah.
or
You're
whatever.
not a
I
Yeah.
will.
gatekeeper at
There's
all.
I'm
a
not
lot
a
of
gatekeeper
gatekeepers in
by
it,
any.
yeah.
No, because I'm telling you lot now. I've got the tired £20 that's got to put electric and buy a loaf of bread. So see there, and I was on LBC last night. So let's have it right. Just because I'm in the media doesn't mean that I don't live the
Yeah,
realist. But
yeah,
I
Yeah.
think it's an excellent conversation, a really good resource. And
yeah.
sis, push it, push it, push it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Stretch it
you.
out like Molly has stretched out Shake It to the Max as a hit single, boy. Molly is still going with this track, and I love it. And every time I see it, I'm still dancing up to it. Like I've not seen it before. Stretch it out. It needs to be. It needs to be done. It
Yeah.
definitely does. Um, if you can have one reader come away with a key message, what would it be?
Right. So when I accepted the Black Excellence Award, I introduced myself as the Christ loving Rasta. And on my YouTube channel, I'm known as Your Good Sis K. But before that, I was the retired gangster. And one thing about me, whether you want to hear it or not, I can quote a scripture. And so I would like to give two that I said at the beginning. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning.
Right.
That one is one of them that got me true. Cause sometimes, this too shall pass, it's the same kind of concept.
Yeah.
Some of these things people want to self-delete. Some of these things people think, why me? And we have those times and they pass.
Yeah.
So remember it. And then the final one is talk up the things. Talk. You see, if you tell someone, excuse me, this one touched me here, and they laugh or they put you down, and and now you're a big woman and you're still screaming from the rooftops. Keep talking, because somebody eventually is going to hear, and they're going to help you. If you have to tell 100 people, use law of averages. I decided to write my book, and I was told by a giant in the community, I'm not exaggerating, that they were gonna see me and I was gonna be in big problems. And
Right.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I did the book anyway. And 8 days after releasing the book, No Bravado's Trisha gave me an award. The award ain't no little toy award. It's a glass award. The thing is heavy. It's weighty. And when I go to my events with my Shiney Black Girl badge, I have the award there, like I got no shame. And people peek over and they want to see what that is, and they lean in. Oh, Black Excellence. Oh, well done. Yeah, I got my award because I kept talking. I was told to
Right.
shut up. I was told I was blackmailed. I was threatened subtly and seriously. I was ostracized. And what's that thing where they cast you out the family? And yeah, I was draped. So yeah, but I talked, I spoke up, and I know that by telling my story, just for that one person I told you earlier that went and sat down with their kids, I've stopped at least one child
You've
from being
broken a
interfered
cycle in
with.
at least one household.
Yes, at
Absolutely.
least one child from being interfered with, at least one family member getting called out at the next dinner, Christmas dinner table. I
Right.
have encouraged at least one woman to do talking therapy, creative therapy, journaling, and work on their mental health. I've given someone that lick of strength. So if nothing else, talk. If you think people are tired of hearing it, turn your head this way. Talk to what did man in the church say? Talk to your neighbor on your turn to your left and talk to your neighbor. Talk.
Yeah.
If you need
Talk.
help writing, I recommend everybody self-publish. Feel free to DM me on any questions to do with self-publishing. I will be doing Zooms later on teaching people how to self-publish, but I also
Wicked.
will be doing interviews where people could tell their stories. But my thing is, please talk, because if not for yourself, you're going to help somebody. Someone will resonate,
Somebody
someone will
else. Yeah.
understand, and you will feel better about it. Talk, girl, talk. Someone's listening.
I hear you.
Mm.
So, coming towards the close now,
Mhm.
but did you draw from counseling or therapeutic practices personally in writing the book? So I think you did from what you're saying in
Mhm.
terms of talking therapies, but did any of that come through as advice in the book?
Yeah, the epilogue when I had the 8 coping mechanisms and trigger, all of them
Those,
were
that's
things
what you
from
drew from that.
therapy. Yeah, specifically, yeah. And my therapist, unprofessionally, but I appreciate it, cried twice. And
Okay.
I thought, oh, she's hearing stories all the time and she crying about me. It must be something. But she told me to write my book. She told me, write.
Right.
And I said, when I retire and I go back to Ghana, because that's where in Africa I went to stay, and that's where my kids are and my husband's from. I said, when I go back to Ghana, I'll write the book. And she was like, oh, when you get into the safety, into the cocoon, you're procrastinating. Write the book and make the book make enough money to send you back to Ghana to live there and retire early. So
Right.
my therapist encouraged me to write the book. And
To write
yeah,
the
I
book.
used the
Oh, bless
expertise from
her.
it in the end.
Okay.
Mhm.
Look at that, boy. Oh, it's very inspiring. I'm so glad you came on. Such a good
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank you so much.
How has the book, well, kind of answered this.
Mhm.
So it was, how has the book influenced your own mental health practices? Do you continue to engage in self-reflection, journaling or shadow work? Simply because, like you said, it
Mhm.
was a good, however many years ago now,
Mhm.
15, 17 years ago now.
Mhm.
So do you still feel the need to journal and engage in practices that help you to cope, or do you think it's not needed now? I personally feel for me it's a never-ending story. You're going to always
Mm.
need to engage with your mental health, and there's always levels and there's always layers. But what do you think?
I think the book was my journey with black men, positive and
Right,
negative. I never touch on the journey with black women. And
right.
boy, yeah.
Was that
Boy,
negative or positive
it
or
was
both?
it was both. But maybe in some ways more positive, not physically, but emotionally and mentally. So
Right.
I got through and got over everything that's in the book, or I wouldn't have given it to people. I wouldn't have felt safe to put it out there because I don't want to be able to be triggered. But when it comes to the question about have I worked on my forgiveness, I haven't fully got over my female issues yet. So that's what I'm working on currently. Then it might be a never-ending thing. I'm hoping it ends. But
Yeah.
once I got through all of that and I went back to therapy, it was like, what are we working on today? And I was like, ah! And yeah, that's what I'm working on now. And I was going to do a book, part 2, about my issues with black females, my relationship with black females, good and bad. But that one, where I am in my life right now, is way too heavy for me to touch on. I've written about 9 chapters and I had to shut that down and put it
Right.
in a corner. Like, you ain't ready for that. So maybe in a year,
Wow.
in 5 years, there might be another version of it. But for I've got work to do still, for real.
Okay. We all have.
We do.
Donna, anything to add, babe?
No, not really. Just thank you for having me join you guys tonight. It was an excellent discussion. It was lovely to hear some of the motives behind what you've written, Empress Shaala. And thank you for allowing us to not being shy about speaking. Trisha knows me very well anyway, so she knows that this is my kind of conversation. And not being shy about identifying problems both within our communities and with our and in ourselves individually, and kind of shining a light on self-help. I think that's been excellent. And as ever, an inspiration. And anybody listening, we need more Black stories. They don't have to be, you don't have to do it, you can self-publish, but we need our own stories so that we don't feel that we are alone. And there is support in it. So I think it was thank you again, Trisha, as ever, and thank you, Empress Shaala. It was a really, really powerful conversation this evening.
Thanks, Donna.
All right, so we're going to be wrapping up because we've done our 2 hours. That flew by. But definitely, and we'll do a part 2. Definitely, I'd love for you to come back. But Don, anything you're up to that you want to highlight before we shoot off?
Assignments. Becoming a who tell me say that masters was easy. Me say me tired. My laptop is about to break down on me. So I'm just involved in work right now, and haven't got any kind of greater plans than that. The people that have me tie up in the schoolwork, me can't lie.
Right, no, I hear that.
Well done, though.
All right. Well, but yeah, we know that she's going to push through and smash it anyway. It gets difficult, but we know you're going to do it. And Empress Shaala, where can we purchase the book? We said if we go to Instagram, there's a link in your bio. And where can we find you on social media? So can you list all of your social medias, the best place for people to be able to purchase the book or have a read?
Okay. So the first thing I want to mention, because I haven't been mentioning it except for the last week in the podcast I've been doing and the interviews, is Shiloh Village. So if everybody can follow at the Shiney Black Girl on Instagram, this is the book. This is AI's image of me as a child. I just told the lady it to give it a book and glasses. So at the Shiney Black Girl. Once you follow, I'm gonna get Shiloh Village to follow all the followers. I need everybody in the community to push and share Shiloh Village just as much as you push and share the Shiney Black Girl, because we're not just working on the kids in this country, we're doing back home. And that first initiative is in Ghana, West Africa. So we're going to support hands down, get the kids off the street. Thank you. It's mycartel.com. If you could give me like about 60 seconds, I'll elaborate. Shiloh Village is a safe house for street kids. Children are taking medicine. I don't know if you don't call it lean or cowpole or all sorts of drugs. They are being trafficked. They are being groomed. They live in abandoned buildings, and they're still not just out here pickpocketing. They're selling things on the roadside, toilet paper, phone cards, and they don't know. They don't have any guidance what we do at Shiloh Village is we put them in a safe house, guarded by a bag of Rasta man who are the security man, and mothers who do not have the money to feed their own kids team up, cook for the children in Shiloh Village and feed them. So, and then we try to reunite a lot of the children back with their parents. Some runaways should not be reunited. Some children run away and they need to find their way home. So that's something I want to push. Any platform I go on now, you're going to hear me talk about Shiloh Village. So
Shiloh
follow
Village.
the Shiney Black Girl, and then Shiloh Village will follow you. Get the book, promote the book. If you're going through mental health, DV, child neglect, child interference, or you've gone through it, you want to prevent it, you know someone who's gone through it, get the book, give them the book. Yeah. And help me get my name out there, promote it, show me, DM me, tell me,
Definitely will.
I appreciate you.
Angela St. Clair said, "Hi ladies, very interested, learning so much. I have read the book. Excellent. This explains a lot."
Thank you.
Okay. So now give the book to someone else to read. I guess that's what we should do as well, because I don't like, if it's my book, it's my book. But sometimes it's good to, promote
you can buy a book to donate. You can buy a book to donate. A guy called Tony, he plays steel pan. I don't know if any of you know him.
Play one pan.
Yes, he ordered about 6 copies for female family members.
Now there's an idea. Just have there you go. Christmas coming up.
Thank
I guess
you, Angela.
Not necessarily a Christmassy topic, but it needs to just be a topic, irregardless.
Yeah.
So
if you got questions about the book, Angela, feel free to DM me, and then when I got a chance, I'll answer. I don't mind answering. So how did you end up here, and what about that? I'm good with that. Yeah.
Hyperofficial says the work you're doing is inspiring, Shaala, and it really is. So well done, my award-winning queen. It's been a pleasure. I'll definitely want to do a part 2. I also, Natalie and that lot will be about when we do the next one. But I also wanted to say to you, Donna, thank you so much for stepping in and for contributing to such a fantastic conversation during all of your hard work and things that you've got doing. And I appreciate you for always just stepping in and
come on.
Just
doing
the
work.
and then giving us food for thought, and it's always just such a brilliant conversation with you. So thank you so much.
I just say I see you both and I appreciate you, so thank you.
Oh, bless you. I met you once and I didn't forget you. Your energy is powerful, Donna.
Her energy is mad. I tell you.
And
we're birthday twins. Me and Donna are like a day apart.
That makes too much sense.
Yeah, we're a day apart, so it makes sense.
It makes sense.
But Jenny says, thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Thank you for your comments and for your contributions. Means the world. Please like and follow Black Excellence CIC on Instagram. Follow No Bravado on Instagram or TikTok.
And check out their YouTube videos. You catch a joke.
You catch a joke.
And it's good. It's fulfilling. It's really the name. No Bravado. It's in the name.
Absolutely. I also have a company called Diva Choice that sells African-inspired jewelry. So please,
and the headpieces. You're not selling it well. It's not just jewelry. She got these beautiful headpieces. If you have hair or you're a bald, go check it out. Yeah,
just check us out.
I love it. Beautiful pieces.
Yeah, and keep inspiring, Empress Shaala. Just keep telling your story. Peter says, thanks, ladies. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Let our massive shout out to Spotlight Radio listeners. We've gone over by 10 minutes. If you are still here and you're still listening, thank you for being here. And follow us on all of our platforms. Pick up a copy of the book. Head over to the Shiney Black Girl on Instagram. This is what the book looks like. Sorry,
I forgot to say that it's not suitable for younger readers.
Okay, so pick up a copy of the book. Don't give it to your kids to read if it's not, but then be able to interpret it to them. And the link's in her bio to get it. And then what I will do is share a picture of the book tomorrow with all of the links to it. I'll share that in the group.
Thank you.
All right. Bless you. So, ladies, Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And thank you for being here. And keep up the good
Take
work,
care.
both of you.
Give
Yeah.
thanks, sis.
All right. Take
Big
care.
love.
Much
Take it
love.
easy.
Bye
Take
Much
bye.
care.
love to you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.